Today, we're going to be doing something that I'm sure a few of you will find controversial, and that's the simple process of closing in a window without removing it and framing it in to mount my TV to the wall where the window opening once was. Now, to start this process, we obviously have to remove the curtain rod, blinds, blind hardware, and insulation that's been sitting in the window for over a year now, and then move on to removing all of the drywall for the area. I'm removing a 4-foot section of drywall as that will make it nice and simple to put new drywall in when I'm done. This is an east-facing window, and leaving it exposed without the insulation in it causes my living room to heat up by about 10 degrees during the summer and makes it absolutely unbearable, so I won't be missing having this window by having it filled in. Removing the drywall was apparently far more difficult than I was anticipating, even though I'm the one that installed it last year. Removal is normally just simply cutting relief lines for where you want the drywall to break at, and then pulling the drywall away from the screws. But apparently I perfectly countersunk all of these screws, so they were holding the drywall really well. For the window here, since we're not removing it, we're just going to build another frame that sits inside of the window and screws to the existing frame. I'm also adding a 2x12 to the assembly here, so that way I have a very solid surface to mount my TV to when I'm done. You could do this with really any material, but I have a surplus of 2x12s in my yard, so I grabbed this one and cut it to size. Once the frame is screwed together, simply mount it into the existing window opening, make sure it's sitting flush with the rest of the wall, and begin screwing it in. I did have to cut a small notch out of the bottom of the frame so that the window openers can fit inside of the notch and not cause the frame to sit away from the wall. next thing that I'll be doing here is adding the electrical outlets for the TV, and I'll be doing that by piggybacking off of an existing outlet. In order to get to this outlet wiring, after removing the outlet extension and outlet cover, I'll be cutting a slot out of the drywall in order to have an area to access the existing wiring and run new wiring. After that's removed, I just need to cut out a section for the new outlet box to go in my existing insulation. Normally this wouldn't be needed, but since I have polystyrene insulation in this wall, I have to cut out a template for it to fit into when I put drywall up. I'm not too concerned about that section of drywall that I took out, as I eventually have to remove all of the drywall along this wall and insulate it properly, and then add new drywall, so I'll fix it then. But if I wasn't doing that, it would be a simple patch job for the wire run. I apologize for all the hunting that the camera's been doing for focus. I didn't realize I really needed to disable continuous autofocus for this shot. Once the wire route is cleared and ready, it's time to grab a paddle bit and put a hole between the stud bays for the wiring to be run. Before you start working on any electrical, make sure that you have no power going to the wires. I always put my tester into the outlet as I go flip the breaker off just to make sure it's actually off. With the power turned off, go ahead and pull out the existing outlet to get access to the wires. Go ahead and strip approximately an inch of sheathing off of the new wires to add to the existing outlet. Now, much to many people's dismay, we're going to use backstabs for the addition to this outlet, as this old outlet, which I will eventually replace, does not even have screw terminals. We want to stab in black to the black side, white to the white side, and then add the ground wire to the other grounds in the box. To do this, I'll be using a new wire nut, a green ground nut that allows for a wire to slide through the top to still allow a wire to connect to the outlet. Before turning the power back on, we'll slightly prepare the other end of the wire that will be going into the new box. We'll strip the black and white wires, and then add on Wago splice connectors to them to easily remove them when we're ready to fully attach everything. Before we prep the drywall to go on, we need to add the wire run that goes up to where the outlet for the TV actually will be, so I can have the power wire hidden up behind the TV. And also because this TV has like the shortest power wire in existence. For the time being, all I'm doing is drilling the hole through the 2x4s and running a wire to pretty much just chill in the wall cavity. As I add in the layers of polystyrene insulation, with the wiring run behind it, I cut out the spot for the box to sit in the insulation, this time cutting the ears the proper way the first time. The reason for the ear design is so that the tabs on the old work boxes I'm using are able to fully open up once behind the drywall. Now that it's drywall time, it's simply a matter of measuring out the distances I need, scoring the white side of the drywall, bending it at the score mark, and then cutting along the backside. The wonderful splash of purple paint on there is an indicator that this piece of drywall came from Home Depot's coal cart, so it was only like $2, which is amazing. With the drywall inside of the house, I just have to measure where my electrical box will be and mark that on the drywall, and then cut out that box before hanging it up. With the drywall cut and ready, it's just a matter of adding drywall screws in all of the studs, spacing them out about 18 inches between them as you go up. Always make sure that the head of the screw is just barely below the surface of the drywall. If you drive the screw too far in, it won't actually hold the drywall and can cause it to tear out and away from the wall. As much as I'd love to go back and fix all the focus hunting that's happening in these clips, sadly, these are one-time shots that I can't go back and redo, as once the work is done, it's, done. Eventually, I'll have some sort of cameraman to help out to prevent issues like this in the future. While editing this video though, after seeing this happen, I have adjusted a few settings on my camera to hopefully prevent this from happening in the future. Apparently this whole video is how to record things out of focus 101. Definitely not my finest work, and I'm sorry about that. Here we're just adding the recessed outlet to the drywall that just got hung up. It's simply a matter of adding the black wire to the gold screw, white wire to the silver screw, and bare copper to the green screw. Moving on to the bottom piece of drywall, it's just the same as the other piece. Move all of your measurements to your drywall, gently score with your razor blade, bend the drywall along the cut, and then cut along the backside to cut the drywall. And apparently I forgot to record me cutting out the electrical box, but you guys didn't really miss anything there. Here you can see me using my pry bar to keep the drywall lifted up, tight against the top piece while I screw everything in. Hindsight here, I should have added at least one more 2x4 along the window for additional mounting points for the drywall, but ultimately it won't be an issue. And we're about halfway done with this job. I still have to add the outlet box, wire in the two outlets, connect them to the top outlets and the new hot wire that's sitting in the wall, tape and mud the drywall, sand it, texture it, and then paint it before hanging up my TV. This video is already incredibly long at more than 20 minutes, so I'm going to cut it here and save the rest of the video for the next video that comes out on the channel. If you like the content I'm putting out, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all new content as it comes out. If you want access to videos as soon as I finish and upload them, join me as a channel member or over on Patreon and you'll have access to them just a bit earlier than the general audience. And that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in and have a wonderful day. Take care.